And humans, small but extraordinary, had claimed the power of the ancients. Elara smiled, realizing that this was just the beginning. The galaxy had assumed humans were insignificant, fragile, and predictable. They had been wrong. Humans were clever, adaptable, and unstoppable when their potential was awakened. She looked at Orin, then back at the viewport, seeing the stars stretch into infinity. The giants moved alongside the ghost ship Colossal Guardians in the void, and humans had become their stewards. The aliens had learned a harsh lesson. Humans could not be controlled, could not be predicted, and could not be ignored. And as the first of the sleeping giants fully rose into the void, Elara felt the weight of possibility settle on her shoulders. Humans had awoken a power older than most civilizations, and now the galaxy itself would watch as they proved, once again, that humans were extraordinary.
Elara whispered to herself, a quiet vow and a declaration. The galaxy will remember us.
They will remember humanity, and they will learn never to underestimate humans again. The stars seemed to shimmer in response, and in the endless void the giants moved under human command, massive and majestic, a living testament to humanity's ingenuity, courage, and determination. Humans had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same again. She realized this was the moment that would redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. Through the viewport, she watched the giants move in formation, their immense power radiating across space. They were guardians, protectors, and now allies of humans. For centuries, civilizations had feared them or forgotten them entirely, but humans had awakened them.
Elara, Orin said softly, the alien threat has been neutralized.
The galaxy may now recognize humans as a force to be reckoned with. She nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride. Humans had always been underestimated, and humans had always proven themselves in the moments that mattered most. The void was quiet now. The alien fleet scattered. The giants drifted beside the ghost ship, massive and majestic, responding to Elara's commands with precision and care. Humans had not only survived, they had shown the galaxy that small, underestimated species could hold power beyond imagination. Elara exhaled, looking out at the stars. She thought of her ancestors, of humanity's long history of struggle, ingenuity, and survival. And she realized that humans were more than survivors. They were the inheritors of the galaxy's greatest secrets, capable of awakening forces no one else could control. The ghost ship pulsed, alive and aware, as if acknowledging her accomplishments. Elara felt a connection, a resonance between human will and ancient technology, a bridge between the past and the present. She had done what no other species could. She had awakened the giants and guided them safely. "Humans," she said softly, almost as a promise. "We will not be small anymore. We will not be underestimated. We will rise." The giants' pattern shimmered brighter, as if responding to her words. In the emptiness of space, they moved together, a fleet of sentient power, waiting for new commands, ready to defend or explore, to protect or reshape the galaxy as needed. Humans could see solutions in chaos, improvise, and act in ways that defied expectation. The aliens regrouped, more cautious now, realizing that the humans were not to be underestimated. They had made one critical mistake. They assumed that size, firepower, and advanced technology equaled superiority. They did not understand humans. Elara looked at the giants, towering and majestic, their glowing patterns synchronized with her commands. She realized something profound. Humanity had just inherited a power older than most civilizations, a power designed to protect the galaxy, now fully aligned with human will. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "This is only the beginning. Humans have awoken something that even the galaxy has forgotten. And now, it's ours to guide." The alien fleet hesitated. They were powerful, organized, and relentless, but they had not faced humans in full command of something beyond imagination. The giants moved with precision, neutralizing threats without unnecessary destruction. proving that intelligence combined with intuition was more formidable than raw force.
Alara took another deep breath.
We are small, but we are not weak. They have underestimated humans, and that will be their downfall. The aliens launched one final attempt at aggression, targeting the ghost ship's core. Alara's fingers moved across the console, guiding the giants in a coordinated response. Energy pulses blocked attacks, while gravitational distortions forced enemy ships off balance. A massive hand extended into space, lifting an entire alien cruiser effortlessly and placing it far from the battlefield. Orin reported all enemy forces neutralized or dispersed. Human strategy, complete success. Alara's grin widened. Humans had not just survived, they had dominated, using brains, courage, and instinct to overcome impossible odds. They won't learn until the consequences hit them directly. The alien commanders had already sent messages through subspace channels, demanding an immediate surrender and warning humans not to interfere. They assumed threats of violence could control the small, fragile species. They did not know that humans thrived when underestimated. Alara ignored the demands. Her fingers traced the final commands into the console. Every giant moved in precise formation, guided by human intuition. The ghost ship itself acted as a central hub, its systems directing energy flows, redistributing power, and coordinating movements across unimaginable distances. She felt a strange warmth of satisfaction. Humans were not just surviving, they were defining the battlefield, shaping events in ways no other species could. The first wave of alien ships approached, weapons charged. The giants moved as one, towering over the fleet, emitting energy pulses that disrupted targeting systems. Alien commanders barked orders, trying to coordinate, trying to fight. But humans were already several steps ahead. Alara took a deep breath. This was the payoff. The moment humans proved their worth, not through numbers or brute force, but through creativity, courage, and intuition. A group of alien cruisers fired together, their weapons striking the giants. The beams hit with incredible energy, but the giants absorbed them, redirecting the energy harmlessly into space. Another giant extended a massive arm and lifted a squadron of enemy fighters, tossing them aside gently but forcefully, showing the terrifying efficiency of controlled power. Orin reported calmly. All attacks neutralized. Alien strategy ineffective. Humans were not meant to follow rules, not meant to be predictable. The aliens assumed superiority because of size, firepower, and technology. But humans had something they could not calculate. Adaptability. Humans were not predictable. Humans were unstoppable when driven by intuition, courage, and creativity. Alara looked out into the void, knowing that the giants were only the beginning. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for too long. And now humans had awakened a power older than most civilizations, a force that would reshape the balance of power forever. And humans, small yet extraordinary, had proven once again that they could survive and thrive where others failed. The alien fleet had retreated, but the void was still tense. Alara Voss stood at the heart of the ghost ship, hands hovering over the console, feeling the pulse of the giants through the ship's systems. Their hum resonated in her bones, a vibration of immense power waiting to be directed. "They're awake," she whispered, awe in her voice. All of them, responding. Orin's voice was calm, almost reverent. "All constructs are active, Captain. Synchronization with human commands is stable. Probability of complete control, 99%.
Alara smiled faintly. Humans had always thrived in impossible situations.
While others relied on sheer strength or predictable logic, humans adapted, improvised, and turned chaos into advantage. This moment, she realized, was no different. Beyond the ghost ship, the first giant rose fully into the void, its form stretching across kilometers of space. Its glowing patterns pulsed rhythmically, responding to the subtle commands Alara embedded in the ship's system. It was not mindless. It was listening, learning, cooperating. The second giant followed, then the third, until the void was filled with a silent fleet of living machines, enormous beyond comprehension, each one towering above alien fleets that had once considered humanity insignificant. "Alara," Orin said cautiously. "The aliens may attempt retaliation. We must be prepared." "Let them try. They've underestimated humans before." Capital ships moved into formation, their weapons charged, ready to crush what they assumed were fragile humans. Elara's eyes glinted.
They think we're small. They think we can be controlled.
They're about to learn the truth. With a swift sequence of commands, she aligned the giant's energy channels with the ghost ship's power core. A massive pulse erupted, illuminating the void, forcing the alien ships into defensive maneuvers. The giants moved with precision, coordinated and immense, guided entirely by human intuition. The aliens tried to counter, but every strategy they attempted was anticipated and nullified. The giants were unstoppable, yet controlled, and humans, small and underestimated, were in full command. Elara leaned back, a grin spreading across her face. "Ha ha 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 ha!" This was the moment humans had always thrived on, the impossible. The moments when the odds were stacked against them, and every other species had given up. And yet humans adapted. Humans survived. Humans won. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "This is only the beginning. We're not just surviving anymore. We're showing the galaxy what humans can do." Orin projected a final tactical overview. The aliens were retreating, their formations broken, their assumptions shattered. The giants, fully awakened and aligned with Elara's commands, towered above the battlefield, a living testament to human ingenuity and unpredictability. And somewhere in the darkness of the void, more giants stirred. The first had awakened, and now the others were following, responding to the same call only a human could provide. Elara's hands hovered over the console, feeling the hum of power, the pulse of the giants, and the energy of the ghost ship. She realized something profound. Humans were not just part of the galaxy. They were becoming its defining force. The alien fleet defeated and retreating had learned a lesson. Humans were not weak. They assumed small, fragile creatures like humans could be predicted, cornered, and controlled. But humans were different. Humans could see connections where others saw randomness. Humans could adapt instantly, make choices based on intuition and emotion combined. And now humanity was commanding forces older than most civilizations, forces beyond imagination. One giant stepped fully into the void, revealing its scale. Its head, or what resembled a head, was taller than the alien capital ships combined. Energy patterns rippled across its form, synchronized with Elara's thoughts. It was no mindless machine. It was alive in its own way, and it was listening to her. The aliens panicked. Fleets that had once thought of humans as insignificant were now struggling to survive against a single human guiding constructs that could destroy entire fleets without breaking a sweat. "Elara," Orin said, "probability of human victory against combined alien forces is now at 83%. Elara laughed softly. "Numbers don't scare me, Orin. Humans never follow numbers. They follow possibilities." With a few more gestures across the console, the giants began to act in unison. One reached into the void and neutralized a group of alien fighters without destroying them, sending them spinning harmlessly away. Another emitted an energy pulse that forced the aliens to retreat momentarily. The galaxy itself seemed to bend to the unexpected. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was powerful. Elara took a moment to breathe. Her hands hovered over the controls, feeling the pulse of the ghost ship, the giants, and the void around her. She realized something important. This was more than survival. Humans were meant to adapt, meant to face the impossible and make it possible. The aliens had assumed weakness. That had been their first mistake. Through the viewport, she saw the aliens regrouping for one final strike. Corridors shifted, energy fields ignited, and massive conduits released controlled bursts that disrupted alien weaponry. The giants, guided by Elara, began to move deliberately, positioning themselves between the aliens and the derelict ship. Elara's eyes widened as she realized the full extent of what she could do. Humans were not just survivors. They could interface with the unknown in ways no other species could. Where AI or brute force failed, humans could improvise, understand patterns intuitively, and adapt to chaos. The alien ships fired again, plasma streaks cutting through the void, but the giant's massive forms absorbed the energy, redirecting it harmlessly into space. One massive hand reached out, and a group of enemy fighters was lifted effortlessly, tossed aside without destroying them. It was a display of raw power tempered by precise control.
"They're beautiful," Alara whispered, "and they listen to me."
Arin added, "Your human intuition is bridging the gap between the technology and your commands, Captain."
The constructs respond to creativity rather than logic. Humans can improvise solutions that alien systems cannot anticipate. The aliens, realizing they were being outmaneuvered, tried a more aggressive tactic. A concentrated strike was launched at the derelict ship's main reactor. But Alara was ready. Using a combination of the ghost ship's systems and her intuitive interface, she rerouted energy flows, creating a pulse that overloaded the attacker's weapons. Ships were forced to break formation or risk destruction. Alara moved deeper into the control hub, her fingers flying over ancient controls, rewiring circuits, aligning energy channels. Each action, guided by instinct, made the giants more responsive. She could feel them thinking, or at least sensing, the commands she wove into the system. The aliens underestimated humans at every turn. Interface protocols are incomplete, Orin said. Construct design does not fully match human logic. However, adaptive human input may bridge the gap. Alara exhaled, taking a deep breath. This was no longer just a salvage mission. This was a test of humanity itself. She placed her hands on the console, letting the symbols guide her. They pulsed under her touch, shifting into shapes she could understand intuitively. For a moment, she felt a strange connection, as if the ship and the giants were aware of her presence. "Humans," she murmured softly. "You're the only ones who can do this." The alien fleet circled the ghost ship like predators. Their assumption was simple. Humans were weak. Humans relied on small ships, simple tactics, and primitive instincts. They had no idea what was about to hit them. Suddenly the giants moved, not in panic, not in rage, but with precision, guided by the human mind interfacing with the ship. One giant extended a massive arm, its surface rippling with energy, and sent a pulse through space. Alien sensors went haywire, their ships veering off course as alarms blared. Alara's grin widened. Humans were unpredictable. Humans could think around problems, improvise solutions, and take risks that larger, more logical species could not. The aliens regrouped, now realizing that their attack had failed, but they still underestimated the scale of what they faced. More ships arrived, faster and more numerous. Their formation was perfect, their weapons deadly. But humans had something they could never calculate.
"Orin," Alara said, "focus on adaptive response. Every time they try to predict us, we counter differently."
Use the ship systems in ways they don't expect. The AI nodded. "Acknowledge, Captain. Initiating adaptive defensive protocols." The ghost ship responded as if alive. The giants were alive, and they were enormous, far beyond anything humanity had seen before. "They're coming," she whispered, "and when they do, the galaxy will never be the same." But she could not help a small smile. Humans were underestimated again, and history had shown that humans always found a way to rise. The aliens would soon learn the same lesson. The ghost ship hummed, alive and ancient, as if approving her determination. And deep within, the first of the sleeping giants began to move. Alara knew one thing with certainty. Whatever came next, she had already changed the balance of power in the galaxy. And humans, small, underestimated, unpredictable humans, were ready to show their strength. The void beyond the ghost ship pulsed with movement. Shadows stretched across the expanse of space, enormous forms drifting silently. Alara Voss stood at the console, staring at the viewport in awe. The first of the sleeping giants had awakened. Its immense structure dwarfed even the largest alien ships, its surfaces etched with patterns of unknown energy that shimmered like starlight. "They're alive," she whispered. "They're huge." Oren's voice was steady, but contained something resembling awe. "Constructs are active, Captain. Their energy output is off the known scale. Hostile engagement from the aliens may be catastrophic if not managed." Elara's pulse raced. She had faced danger before, but nothing like this. Humans had survived against odds that should have been impossible, not through brute force, but by thinking differently, by being unpredictable. And now, it was her turn to show that. "Oren," she said firmly, "we need control. Full interface. We can't let them go rogue. If the aliens touch them first, it could be disastrous." The AI projected a holographic display showing the giants' forms, massive circuits running like rivers of light along their colossal frames. Beyond the edges of the ghost ship, a shadow moved, immense and slow, almost as if space itself bent around it. It was difficult to make out, but its scale was beyond comprehension. Even the alien fleet, which had underestimated her, seemed insignificant.
"They're huge," she whispered.
Much bigger than anything we imagined. Oren projected an analysis. Constructs appear to be ancient, sentient machines. Their power output exceeds that of the combined alien fleet. However, they are currently inactive. Interface required to ensure controlled activation. Elara realized the truth. Humans were not just survivors in the galaxy. They were uniquely capable. Where others relied on brute force or predictable AI logic, humans could improvise, adapt, and solve problems creatively. That was why the ship had called for her. That was why she, and only she, could awaken the giants safely. The aliens regrouped, sensing the disturbance in the void. They assumed the humans were just another obstacle, just another fragile race they could exploit. They did not yet understand that this human, small and alone, could manipulate forces far beyond their comprehension. Elara took a deep breath. Her hands moved over the console again, carefully tracing patterns and activating systems. The symbols pulsed faster, almost impatiently. The ship responded, and she felt a strange resonance, as if it was speaking directly to her mind. "We need them awake," she murmured, "but controlled. I can't let them go wild." The alien ships fired again, more aggressively, but her traps held. Corridor collapses, redirected energy beams and gravitational distortions slowed them. Human ingenuity bought her time, and time was all she needed. Through the viewport, the shadow moved closer, immense shapes now partially visible. Gigantic forms drifted in the void, silent, powerful, and awakening. Elara felt a shiver run down her spine. She realized the sleeping giants were not weapons, but massive autonomous constructs designed to protect the galaxy from threats that had long been forgotten. And according to the logs, only a human mind could awaken them without triggering catastrophic failures. "They trusted humans," she said softly. "I don't know why, but they did." Fighters fired bursts of plasma at the ghost ship, trying to breach its hull. Elara's traps slowed them, but the aliens were adaptive, quickly learning to avoid the obvious dangers. She needed a new strategy. Her eyes scanned the massive corridors. She saw it. Energy conduits running along the walls, powered but dormant. A spark of inspiration hit her. She could reroute the conduits to create a pulse that would disable the alien ship's sensors temporarily. It was risky. If she failed, the entire ship could explode.
"Oren, reroute all power to the main conduits. Prepare for overload," she ordered.
"Warning," Oren said. "High risk of system damage. Probability of success 47%. Elara grinned. "I like those odds." The ship hummed as energy surged through ancient circuits. Panels along the walls glowed, the symbols shifting rapidly. A wave of light shot out of the hull, sweeping through space. Alien sensors went dark. Fighters veered off course, colliding with debris or retreating to avoid the unexpected hazard. Elara laughed, a sound of pure triumph. Humans were underestimated. Again and again. Humans would prove that raw power was not always the key to victory. But the victory was short-lived. Through the shadows of the ghost ship, she caught movement. Massive movement. Something enormous stirred deep in the void beyond the derelict. The ship hummed, almost in response to her actions. "Elara," Oren said quietly. "The first of the giants is stirring. Energy readings are off the scale." She stared through the viewport. Energy conduits, gravity wells, corridor collapses. The vessel has defenses designed for purposes unknown. They may be repurposed. Elara's fingers danced over the controls, rerouting power to the ship's old systems. Lights flickered, consoles activated, and panels shifted. She didn't fully understand the technology, but her intuition as an engineer guided her hands. She pressed buttons and toggles almost blindly, trusting patterns she had seen in other salvage ships, and something deep in her gut told her it would work. The alien ships drew closer, scanning for life signs. Their sensors pinpointed her location aboard the ghost ship. The first fighter fired, a beam of searing light that scorched the empty corridor. Elara ducked behind a massive structural beam and activated a trap. The floor beneath the alien craft's targeting pod shifted suddenly, creating a pulse of gravitational distortion. The alien ship shuddered, alarms blaring, and the pod was knocked off alignment. Elara's pulse quickened. Humans may not have had raw firepower, but ingenuity turned the tables quickly. "They don't understand the ship," she whispered, "and that's our advantage." As she moved deeper into the vessel, she came across another console, this one larger and more complex than the first. The symbols shimmered and pulsed, responding to her presence. Holographic projections appeared, revealing fragments of the ship's history. The vessel had been a guardian, built by a civilization that had vanished thousands of years ago. It was not merely a ship, it was a sentinel. Its creators had left it with instructions encoded in a language the AI could not fully decipher. But humans, Oren explained, had an advantage. Pattern recognition and intuition allow humans to interface with technology in ways predictable AI cannot. She had awakened something enormous, something beyond her comprehension. Yet the thrill of discovery burned in her chest. Space was silent around the derelict, but silence in the void expanse often meant danger was near. "Captain!" Oren's voice cut through her thoughts. "Sensors are detecting approaching vessels. Unknown origin. Multiple targets. Scans suggest sentient species. Hostile intent possible." Elara squinted at the view screen. Shapes were appearing on the scanner, sleek and angular ships moving with precision, their engines glowing faintly in the darkness. They were fast, too fast for human craft to escape easily.
"Aliens," she muttered.
"They must have detected the signal we activated. That pulse, it called them here."
Oren's tone was calm but firm.
"Recommendation. Defensive measures. Human vessels are likely underpowered against this fleet." Elara knew the AI was right. The Starweaver was small, lightly armed, and built for salvage, not combat. But humans had one advantage the aliens did not expect: creativity.
"Oren, let's make them regret underestimating us," she said.
She guided the Starweaver along the ghost ship's massive hull, looking for a place to hide, or at least to gain a tactical advantage. The derelict ship itself was enormous, long abandoned, but its corridors and chambers could be used as a defensive maze. Elara's mind raced, thinking like an engineer and a strategist at the same time. The alien ships arrived faster than expected. Small fighter craft darted around the ghost ship, scanning its surface. They assumed the human would be easy prey, ignoring the size and complexity of the vessel Elara had claimed. "They think this is a human salvage operation," she muttered, a wry smile forming. "They think I'm weak." Oren projected a tactical overlay on the console. "I suggest using the ship's internal systems to create traps." Stars seemed to flicker and shift as if reacting to the awakening. A shadow passed across the expanse of space, colossal in size, stretching far beyond anything she could comprehend. Elara's mind raced. Giants! The message had not been metaphorical. Something massive, something ancient was stirring. And somehow, she was responsible. She turned back to the console trying to understand, but the ship seemed to resist her. Symbols shifted faster now, almost impatiently, as if urging her forward. She realized this was no ordinary system. The ship itself was alive, and it was communicating directly with her mind, bypassing translation, speaking in thought and intuition.
Elara,
Oren said, almost whispering, "Be careful. Whatever is waking, it is beyond our understanding." Her gaze hardened. She was human, yes, small and fragile in the vastness of space, but humans had something few species could match: ingenuity, adaptability, and the courage to face the unknown.
"Then we'll be careful, but we'll face it." She took a deep breath and placed her hands fully on the console, letting the symbols guide her.
She didn't understand everything yet, but one thing was clear. The ghost ship, the Plea, the sleeping giants, it had chosen her. The rumble grew louder, and the shadows beyond the ship deepened. Stars flickered as if the universe itself held its breath. And then, just as suddenly, the sound stopped. Silence returned, heavy and oppressive. Elara exhaled, her hands trembling. She had awakened something. Something vast. Something powerful.
Oren, she whispered. We just stumbled into history.
Or something even older than history. And somewhere deep in the void, beyond the reach of human sight, the first of the sleeping giants began to move. Elara's heart was still racing from the events aboard the ghost ship. They pulsed faintly, almost as if the ship itself were breathing. Elara moved cautiously, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Every step she took felt heavy, as though the ship was aware of her presence. Then she saw it, a console, ancient and alien, but still active. Its surface shimmered under her touch. She knelt and began to interface with it, fingers flying over controls she did not understand. Oren's voice was calm but tense.
Caution advised, Captain.
Systems appear unstable. Unknown technology may be hazardous. Elara ignored the warning. She was a human engineer, trained to understand machines, to see patterns where others saw chaos. Slowly, painstakingly, she began to decipher the console. Lines of text appeared in a language she could almost read. Symbols shifted and reformed, forming shapes that reminded her of human letters, but twisted, alien. And then the message came through. A single sentence she could understand. Wake us. Only a human may awaken the sleeping giants. Her breath caught in her throat. Giants. What did that mean? Before she could react, the ship shuddered. The lights flickered, and the walls hummed with energy. A pulse ran through the corridors, a vibration she could feel in her bones. The console sparked, and the symbols blazed brightly for a moment before dimming again. Elara, Oren said, voice tense.
Ship systems are activating. Unknown processes initiated.
Her heart pounded.
What did I just do?
The answer came quickly. From deep within the ship, a low rumble began, soft at first, like distant thunder. Then it grew louder, resonating through the metal floors and walls. The ship trembled beneath her feet. She stumbled back, holding on to the console.
Oren, this isn't normal.
No, Captain, Oren said. It is extraordinary. Something is waking. Through the viewport, she saw a movement. Something vast, hidden beyond the edges of the ghost ship. A faint pulsing light on the hull caught her eye. A signal. It wasn't strong, but it was deliberate. It blinked rhythmically, like a heartbeat. Curiosity overpowered caution. Elara adjusted the thrusters and guided the Starweaver closer. As she approached, the ship's strange geometry became clearer. It was massive, far beyond any human design, with jagged, asymmetrical wings stretching into the void. The hull seemed almost organic, as if the ship itself had grown rather than been built. And then she saw it, etched along the side of the ship in a glowing, almost imperceptible pattern. Symbols she did not recognize. They shifted under her gaze, like the ship was alive and aware of her presence. Elara, Oren said cautiously. I am detecting a signal frequency. It is structured as a message, but translation is not possible with current protocols. It seems almost intelligent. Her pulse quickened.
Intelligent?
You mean someone or something wants to talk to us? Oren's response was a soft, thoughtful beep. Perhaps. Analysis suggests a plea for assistance. Unknown origin. Very old. She knew this was dangerous. Ships like this didn't survive long in the void without reason. Most ancient vessels were lost to the emptiness of space forever. But humans were curious, sometimes recklessly so. And Alara was no exception. Suit up, Oren. We're going in. She docked the Starweaver carefully, guiding it into the massive hangar bay that seemed designed for something much larger than her vessel. The airlock opened with a hiss that echoed through the empty corridors of the ghost ship. The interior was dark, almost pitch black, but her flashlight cut a swath through the shadows. Dust motes floated in the air, illuminated by her beam. The corridors were vast, wider than any human ship she had seen, and the walls were covered in the same shifting symbols as the hull. A human engineer stumbled on a ghost ship, and a Plea. The sleeping giant's awakened Elara Voss leaned back in her pilot's chair and let out a tired sigh. Space travel was supposed to be boring sometimes, long stretches of empty stars, monotonous readings and the occasional asteroid belt. But today, the void expanse felt different. There was a strange pull, almost like the galaxy itself was whispering secrets she wasn't meant to hear. Her ship, the Starweaver, glided silently through the dark, a small dot against the black sea of space. On her monitor, the scans flickered, showing nothing but drifting dust, small rock fragments and faint echoes of radio signals that had long since died out. And then she saw it. A shape, barely visible at first, floating against the backdrop of distant stars. It was a ship. But not just any ship. It was massive, unlike any human or alien vessel she had ever seen. Its hull was dark and jagged, worn by centuries, or perhaps millennia, of traveling the void. It emitted no energy, no heat, nothing to suggest life. And yet, it moved, or at least it seemed to respond to her presence, a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in trajectory. Elara's heart quickened. She had spent most of her life salvaging derelict ships for rare components. But this was something else. Something old, something important. Starweaver engaged scanners, long-range analysis, she said, her voice steady even as excitement buzzed in her veins. The ship's AI, Oren chirped. Scanning, Captain Voss. Object mass approximately 20,000 metric tons. Energy readings, minimal. Life signs, faint pulse detected, irregular. Elara frowned.
Life signs? That can't be right.
There's no way a ship this old has anyone alive. Perhaps dormant, Oren suggested. Biological readings are inconsistent. She frowned again, leaning closer to the holographic display.